Welcome to the Real Life Wellness Podcast, the show where we explore how to create your own wellness. We dive into everything that happens on the journey to a happier, healthier, and more balanced life. I'm your host, Faith Lauterbach. As a registered nurse and a holistic wellness coach, I have a passion for empowering people to create a vision for their life, prioritize themselves, and then live the life they want. So get ready to discover new ways to nourish your body, mind, and spirit. Let's embark on this journey together and make wellness simple. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Real Life Wellness Podcast. Today's episode number 32, and we are going to be resetting and realigning, taking July's lessons and August's intentions. Now, I'm going to start doing this as a regular post at the end of the month because I want to show you how I do it in my life and hopefully give you some ideas for your life because I think this is so important. It's such an important part of living a life that we love, reflecting on what's happened, and then setting clear intentions about where we want to go next. This piece can get missed in a lot of traditional goal setting, and I believe it's a very vital piece. So let's talk about it. The intention for this episode today is an invitation for you to pause and reflect on July, which is the month that's ending, and to set your intentions for August, this month that we're going to be starting here, and doing this one small shift at a time. So before we get started, I invite you to take a moment to take a nice deep breath. So inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. Let's do that one more time. Inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. All right, let's get started, shall we? So this first section we're going to talk about is July's reflection. And so I want to share some things that were impactful for me in July. It was really a month full of learning, growth, and transformation. How about you? Let's go through some highlights and some things that I would consider my favorites from July. I'm going to start with reading. So each month, my plan is to read a minimum of 3 books. So that's one that I'm learning from, one for fun, and then one for a deeper connection. So let's talk about what that looked like for July. And I'm going to give a little rating on each book. And I want to tell you, I'm not a super critical rater, I don't know, is that a word, on entertainment. Like I can find enjoyment in a lot of things. And so I'm not super, super picky. And so I just want to give you that fair warning. And so the rating system that I have found that works best for me is on a kind of 3-star scale. And so 0, if I give it a 0, that means I didn't finish it. And if that's the case, I will tell you why I didn't finish a book. If I give it a 1, that means that I didn't really like it. A 2 means I liked it. I found it to be enjoyable. And if it's a 3 out of 3, that means I loved it and I will reread it. Okay, so I'm going to start with a book that I did start and I didn't finish. It's a book called None of This Is True. And I will tell you, it's by Lisa Jewell, and there's nothing wrong with this book. But what I realized is it's a suspenseful thriller. And what I realized is when I read these, it really just causes me a lot of anxiety and it affects my sleep. And I kind of forgot that that was the case until I started reading it and I could feel my anxiety creeping in, and I knew that it would affect me in a way I didn't want it to. And so that was my do not finish book. I gifted it to somebody after asking them, do you like this type of book? And they did, and they are enjoying it immensely. So if you like suspenseful thrillers, this very well could be a book for you, but for me, it was not. So that was going to be my fun book. And so I learned quickly that that was not going to be fun for me. And so I stopped reading it as soon as I knew. So my fun book was Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. This is her newest book, and I read this during my backpacking trip. It's a kind of romance with a deeper mystery, and it really kept my interest and excitement. I read this on my Kindle. I do take my Kindle on my backpacking trips, and I have like the setting where it's not the blue light. And what I found is when I have trouble sleeping, I can pick that up and not disturb anybody else and still read. This was a book that, again, I looked forward to reading when it came to going to sleep. And I'm going to rate it a 2 out of 3. That means I liked it, and it was enjoyable to me. Then my second book in the category of to learn was The 12-Week Year by Brian P. Morgan and Michael Lennington. In this book, you learn to define measurable objectives, build a weekly plan, track progress, and maintain accountability. It really was like I found bridging intention and action faster. And it was a highly practical system for increasing performance in both business and personal goals. My rating for this book is a 3 out of 3. And that means that I really liked it and I will come back to it. I will reread it. Honestly, I'm already using things that I learned from this book in my goal setting. All right. My third book is a book for connection. And so to fit in this category, it's something that just causes me to think deeper. It might be a spiritual book. It might just be something that I'm feeling more connected with my own life. But for this month, it was How to Walk into a Room by Emily P. Freeman. And I don't know if you know Emily P. Freeman. She has a podcast called The Next Right Thing that I love every episode of. That's kind of how I found out about her, was through her podcast. And she's written several books, and everything she does is great. This book is her newest book, How to Walk into a Room. And it actually, I saw it went on this really great sale for your Kindle for like $1.99 or something. And so I saw that and jumped on it and downloaded it. And so that is my connection book. And what she's talking about here is using a metaphor of walking into a room to explore making decisions, navigating through changes that happen in life, and learning to listen to your inner wisdom. So all those things are things I talk about on a regular basis and do in my own life. And so I thought, what a great book to bring on to my month. And it did not disappoint. My rating for this book is a 2.5 out of 3. And that just means I found it really helpful. And I will use some of her ideas, and I'm already using some of her ideas when I'm needing to make decisions. So this was a book that I took notes on. And while I don't think I would like reread the whole book, I will definitely come back to my notes when it's time, when I'm in those like kind of like decision-making times, and use those principles. So I really, really enjoyed this. So anyways, those are my books that I read in July, and I hope that's helpful for you. I would love to hear what you read. So like any of these things I share with you, please feel free to respond to me and let me know what your favorites were from the month as well. Okay. I'm a big reader and I'm a big podcast listener. I listen to podcasts a lot. I listen to them when I'm driving is my primary time I listen to them. And so I can't list all the podcast episodes I listen to in a month because it would take up this whole podcast. So I'm just going to share my favorite, something that stood out to me, and I'll tell you why. So I have been listening to the Lazy Genius podcast. for a while. And this month I listened to episode number 427, When You're Overwhelmed by the World. And in this episode, Kendra, who's the host, explores some practical ways to deal with the onslaught of information and news that we get. She really gave me some great ideas to think about and to put into practice. Because, man, I don't know about you, but the amount of information and news and stories and things that we hear that can be really scary it's just everywhere. You can't get away from it. You hear it no matter where you go. And this gave some just ways that you can instill easily into your life to help with that overwhelm. In the show notes, I'll be linking anything I talk about. So if you're interested in exploring anything a little deeper, it will be there in the show notes for you to take a peek. In the podcast realm, I want to talk about the podcast that I created because I'm always so proud of them. I put a lot of time and thought into what I want to say. And so I recorded 2 podcasts in July. And so that was episode 30, which was the one I interviewed my husband on. And we talked about holistic wellness in our marriage. And he shared some of his takes on wellness and how that's impacted him in his life, also in our marriage as well. And I loved getting the chance to interview him. And he will be back because there's more questions that I want to ask into. And we're going to be diving in the future, even more personal. So stay tuned for that. But this episode 30, our debut interview podcast, Holistic Wellness in Our Marriage. Again, it'll be linked in the show notes if you want to check that out if you haven't, or just go back to episode 30. Episode 31 is another episode I recorded in July, and that is lessons I learned from my 5-day backpacking trip. And in that, I discuss reflections that have come to the surface for me since I've returned. So those are my 2 podcast episodes. If you haven't listened to them, take a listen and let me know what you think. All right. The third thing I want to talk about of my favorites is my favorite purchase in July. And I have been, obviously, if you know, I've gone on backpacking trips. I trained a lot for this backpacking trip this year using my backpack. And so I've been curious. There's been a lot of things about weighted vests and those sort of things. And how does that compare to a pack? And what I found, I finally just decided I'm going to order one. And so I researched a little bit on the one that I wanted, and I purchased a weighted walking vest, and I've started wearing it and incorporating it into regular walks. And I love it because it really helps me engage and connect with my core. And unlike a backpack where all the weight is back heavy, obviously, it is more distributed evenly so that it doesn't strain my back as much. So that's definitely something that I'm integrating into my workouts and will continue to do that. So far, I am loving it. Okay. My favorite accomplishment in July has to be my backpacking trip. We went to the San Juan Mountains in Colorado, and I did a whole episode on lessons I learned. That's not necessarily all the details of the logistics of it, but more lessons I've learned since I've got back. I also wrote a blog post about it, so those will also be linked in the show notes. But there is something about the experience of doing something that's really challenging and completing it and getting done with that. And the feeling is so hard to explain of when we take our last step and we're done with that backpacking experience, taking that pack off for the last time. There's just something that's so emotional about the experience and feeling just so complete. I don't know. It was a great full experience. And so it definitely makes my top accomplishment for July. Creation. That's number 5. My favorite thing that I created this month, where I made a recipe. I'm going to link it in the show notes for this homemade Alfredo sauce. So I wouldn't necessarily like say this is a healthy recipe, but it uses just a couple ingredients and they're all real whole food ingredients. And it was so delicious. And it hardly took any time at all. So I really felt good about providing, something that tasted good and something that used whole real ingredients, all things that I could pronounce. And again, it was like 4 ingredients. So that was super yummy. The 6th thing I want to talk about as I reflect in July are some wowed me moments. So I subscribe as a paid member to, it's called Letters from Love with Elizabeth Gilbert, and she's on Substack. And what it is it's weekly prompts with questions for love to answer. I really honestly look forward to each post that she writes. And there's always a guest writer who I believe comes up with the actual prompt that is presented. One of them that I listened to in July was Jesse Crimes, and he was the guest writer. And his story and what he had to say really blew my mind. It definitely wowed me. He shares about his time he spent incarcerated and how within that he truly became an artist. And I'm going to put the YouTube video link in my show notes about his art exhibition at the Met Gallery. So cool. It is things that he actually made during his incarceration. And it was such a powerful story, powerful thing to learn about. So I'm excited to share it and get the word out even more than it already is. Looking into his story and what he has to share, he actually did a TED Talk and a lot of things, and he's been an advocate and a change maker. So I'd love for you to check him out. So those were kind of my top moments in July, things that shaped my July for sure. So again, I'd love to hear what your favorites. What made your list? Reach out to me. We're going to shift now to looking ahead, August at a glance. When this episode comes out, it's going to be the day before August starts, as long as everything goes as planned. I'm actually recording it the weekend before. And so as I'm looking ahead, August, it's one of those months where it's technically still summer, but also the beginning of fall schedules for a lot of people. So that means a lot of back to school routines. There may be even without back to school routines, juggling new transitions or craving more structure. I feel like there's this, even if you don't have kids back to school or you're not yourself back to school, there's still this feeling about August. And it's really the perfect time to reset and start some new routines. I want to tell you a little bit about what I have going on this month. The first thing that I want to share that's coming up this month is a new location. I see clients in person and remotely on Mondays and Tuesdays, and my in-person location is going to be shifting. I am going to be partnering with Sakana Therapy and Wellness, and I'm so excited about this collaboration, this partnership that I'm having with Sakana and the opportunities for me to learn and grow here. It's really exactly what I've been looking for. And so when something happens that you feel so aligned with, it's just a really great feeling. So I am looking forward to that. I will be moving in there here this first week of August. The second thing that's coming this month are digital downloads. So these have been something that I've been working on for a while. I've been thinking about, I use a lot of different printables and downloadables with clients, and I love creating things that make people's life easier. In my coaching experience, I've learned that one-on-one coaching is not the right path for everyone. There may be, it's not the right time. You don't have the energy to spend on it. You don't have the money to spend on it, but people may still want to have some takeaways that you can get through coaching. And so digital downloads offer an additional way to come up with solutions to people ready to make changes. So there's going to be several digital downloads coming in August, and you, my podcasters, will be in the know when that happens. But please check out my website. It'll be on there. There's a shop part of my menu bar. And as the digital downloads become available, they will be right in there. The third thing that's coming in August is yoga. So typically I teach yoga twice a month. The first Monday of the month is a gentle flow and yin yoga. And the third Monday of the month is a restorative and sound bath. So the details about those classes and how to register for them are going to be in the show notes. But if you are in the local Lincoln area, I would love to have you join me on my mat. Where I teach, it's a cozy little space, so you do need to register ahead of time by using that link so that you can save your spot. The fourth thing that's coming in August is the Daily Dose of Wellness membership. I have this, this isn't a new thing for the month, but if you're looking for something new for yourself in August, our theme, each month I have a theme. For August, our theme is aligned living. And so what you get with this membership is you receive an email from me every single morning with a small daily wellness challenge. The goal of this challenge is to help you create the life that you want to be living. And the way to do that is by small intentional actions. And so what I've created for you in this wellness membership is that are small intentional actions that help you create what you want to be doing. I always have an optional book recommendation that helps guide the theme. And then in August, I will be doing a workshop called Design Your Line Day, Daily Rhythms for Wellness That Last. And that workshop is free for my members. So if you need a little something to light a fire, a nice gentle fire to get you in action, check out this Daily Dose of Wellness membership. It might be just what you're looking for. Okay, some quick reflection prompts for you. As you are contemplating this shift into August, I want you to take a moment and think about what is one thing that you want to feel more of in August. What's one thing that you want to create for yourself? And I feel like when you can come up with a feeling that you want to feel, whether that's peace, clarity, energy, joy, or whatever that is that you want more of this coming month, if you start with that feeling, write it down, and let that guide your decisions. Before making a choice to do something or saying yes to an obligation or whatever it is, ask yourself, will this lead me to this feeling? Or will this lead me away from this feeling? It's such a cool way to approach what you're doing in your life, and it can really help guide you to be feeling how you want to feel, to be doing what you want to do. So write it down, let it guide your decisions this coming month, and see how you feel at the end. I would love for you to share what that word is for you and what you're creating. Feel free to email me and let me know. Thank you so much for being a part of this growing community here with my podcast. I am so honored to have the opportunity to walk beside you on this journey. All right. Until we meet again, be well. Thank you so much for tuning in today to the Real Life Wellness Podcast. To stay updated on my latest episodes and wellness insights, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow me on social media. If you have any questions or topics you'd like me to explore, feel free to reach out. I love hearing from you. If you could, please review or rate this podcast on Apple or Spotify to help more people learn how to make wellness simple.